Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in the Twin Cities, it's time for Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, this is going to be a good one today. We've got Amalia Moreno-Damgaard, and Amalia she's the founder and CEO of Amalia Latin Gourmet. Amalia, welcome.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me.
Such a pleasure. So let's talk a little bit about who you are and what you're up to. How are you serving folks out there?
Yes, I am a bilingual chef entrepreneur and founder of two businesses with a prior career in international banking. I am also an award-winning author born and raised in Guatemala. And I've had a passion for Latin culture and cuisine since I was very little. And I learned that from my maternal grandmother, who lived in a very small town in Guatemala called Quesaltepeque. And I had a very close-knit relationship with her. I went with her to the markets and cooked with her and observed what she did with her artisan cooking, fresh meals every day, from cheese to you name it. Everything we ate at the house was made at the house. So back then, the organic ingredients that you know of today, that language was not even known. Organic or sustainability, all those things. They were just that. They were sustainable. They were organic ingredients. And also with my business, I was also determined to bridge the knowledge gap of Latin American culture here in the States. As when I arrived as a fresh immigrant, people asked me often where I was from. And when I said Guatemala, they would say, "Where is that in Mexico?" And then I say to myself, one of these days, I'm going to have to do something about that. And that is how the mission of my business was born. But at the core, my style is very fresh, it's practical, healthy, thanks to my grandmother. And I am a very proud Latin American. I blend pre-Columbian and classic French techniques with my Guatemalan Spanish roots. French techniques is my professional training from Le Cordon Bleu. Mm-hmm. And I like to provide a distinctive approach to Latin culture and cuisine. And so along the way, I have adopted my own unique style, fusing Latin flavors with a variety of influences I have received throughout my life in Guatemala and here in the States. And I'll say from the most rustic to the refined. And I continue to create fresh and modern concepts as I continue to evolve in my career. I have to say that also global travel to over 80 countries in all 7 continents has also enhanced my cooking presentations and my cooking knowledge because beyond Latin America, there is a food world out there that is very, very large. So I do a variety of things within Amalia Latin Gourmet. But I am also a co-founder of a nonprofit business that pretty much came along as a parallel. At the time when I founded Amalia Latin Gourmet, there was a need in the market to support women entrepreneurs. We're talking 2007. Mm-hmm. Back then, I think it's when the fever of women entrepreneurship was really taking over. And fast forward to 2021, we see entrepreneurship now being very relevant and prominent worldwide. So my first business, for profit, is Amalia Latin Gourmet. And my mission came as a result of my first experience in the U.S., as I mentioned earlier. And that is to help organizations of all sizes develop a broader understanding and appreciation of Latin cultural nuances. And I use healthy, traditional gourmet cuisine as a platform to educate individuals and corporations of all sizes. As a result of my experiences, I also speak, and this goes hand in hand with my books. I speak on a variety of topics: career transitioning, entrepreneurship, and food culture, sustainability, and diversity, inclusion, and so on. Mm-hmm. I also represent food brands. I create products for companies that are launching new products and represent them in the media at times. I do consulting work for food companies, anywhere from recipe development and a variety of other things. And I teach at a variety of cooking schools here in the Twin Cities. And since the pandemic, I have been teaching at my own kitchen virtually. And just recently, I started teaching hybrid, where I invite CEOs of companies to come teach with me, and then everyone else can join us virtually. So it's been a fun experience. But also as the co-founder of Women Entrepreneurs of Minnesota, a 501c6 nonprofit. I have served 2 terms as president and CEO. I serve as a chief board advisor. I support and help the board with strategic alliances. And Women actually has grown and has been around for over 13 years now. Women is Women Entrepreneurs of Minnesota, helps foster women entrepreneurship through leadership, education, and mentoring. So that's some of the things that I've been doing. I had a prior career in international banking.
Yeah, I want to let me ask you a question about that. So, and I need to take a breath because I'm tired after you made Amalia. You've got a lot of energy. I mean, a lot of things on your list here. Which is awesome. But I wanted to ask you about the international banking career, and I guess what was it that I know you have a passion for communicating Latin culture, a passion for food, but what was it that led to that change, and what advice would you give people that are thinking about making a change like that from a corporate career into entrepreneurship?
Great question. So I think I've always had this food passion in me. I've been exposed to very good cooks since I was very young, and I'm talking 5, 6, 7 years old. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was my first example, and then my mother was, of course, a very good cook as well. And then my father had a very large family with many sisters. So my aunts on my dad's side were very good cooks as well. So wherever I went, I was always surrounded by very, very good cooks. And I think I already had that inclination towards cooking. And I didn't know that this would become my second career. But that was in Guatemala. When I came to the U.S., I started going to school and I got a job at a bank in Kansas City. That's where my international banking career started. And I went to a bank because my older sister was working in a bank in Guatemala. So she was my example. She was the one that I looked up to. So I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So I went to a bank and I got a very nice, good job. And I rotated in the international department of that job. And I basically did about every single job there was to do. And then I progressed from that bank to a total of about 5 banks as a result of mergers and acquisitions. From there, I went to St. Louis, Missouri. And then the last bank that I worked for here in the Twin Cities was Wells Fargo. So the career spanned about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was time well spent because that's where I formed a strong business core. At the same time, when I was in banking, I also went to undergrad and graduate school full time. And I was very fortunate that my graduate degree was in part funded by one of the banks that I worked for. So there was a lot of help along the way, a lot of support, and I had many mentors. But when my son was born, my heart and my priorities changed. And at that time, I was already living in the Twin Cities. And when my son was about 2.5 years old, I didn't have the heart to leave him in the care of others. And so I decided to quit my my banking career. I think it was change. It was time to make a change. And it was a difficult choice because after 20 years, quitting something that you've been doing and that you know how to do well, and it was a good job because I was really ascending in my banking career, but my heart was no longer there. I think I needed to do something else. So my heart told me, be a mother, and also seek deep inside yourself, what is it that you want to do with the rest of your life? And at that time, I was new in the Twin Cities, and Le Cordon Bleu came to town from Paris and formed a joint venture here with a local college. And I decided to put myself through the classic French school, and I graduated. And then after that, I said, what? Now what? What do I do with all this background education and information that I have inside of me and this passion that I have? So I got a mentor, and the mentor came from SCORE. I think that most people are familiar with SCORE. It's a great organization that helps entrepreneurs like myself form businesses and take their businesses to the next level. But the next thing I know is that that experience that I had early on as an early immigrant helped me form the foundation for my business. The mission that I mentioned was the starting of my business that continues to be the same after 15 years. And I continue to build on that. And so it's been a long career, 2 careers that have complemented each other. Because the culinary career, any career or any business that anyone starts always requires a business side. And I think that because I have this very strong business core, especially on trade finance and international business development, I have done so well.
Wow. What a great story. Amalia Moreno-Damgaard, she is the founder CEO of Amalia LLC and Amalia Latin Gourmet. Amalia, let's just talk about, I guess the question I'm kind of tired of asking, and you're probably tired of answering, which is kind of how you your business fared during the pandemic and how you pivoted and what you did to keep everything going the way you did.
No, it's a very good question because I think that question, every time I am asked the question, is it's a similar answer, but it has evolved. And so when the pandemic hit, I had contracts through pretty much the end of the year. And this is a variety of consulting and in-person presentations, speaking, and so on. As of April 30th, all that virtually had converted to online presentations, and some of it completely went away. So my pipeline dropped by 60%. That was a scary situation. Sure. And I know that I am not alone on this. But that taught me a good discipline to figure out, how can I survive? And being an entrepreneur is not easy. Otherwise, everybody would do it. Uh, Being an entrepreneur has taught me that there are very low lows and very high highs.
Mm.
And so the pandemic has been a very low that I have experienced. So it hasn't been a new experience in terms of feelings of not really panic, but concern. What do I do with all this? But what really, really taught me is that we always get up. We always figure out what to do. And for me, I think that I am very resourceful. And I continue to stay in touch with my clients. I continue to stay active on social media. I continue to help people that ask for my help. I continue to support all the many community organizations. I continue to serve on boards. I continue to stay very active. And on top of that, I wrote my second book during the worst time of the pandemic. So I think that I have a lot of resiliency inside of me, and I consider myself to be a very strong person. But how I pivoted and continue to pivot because the pandemic's not over. And business continues to evolve and continues to change around us. So I have embraced the change that comes my way. I have embraced the opportunities that come my way. And there are opportunities that come online. And one of the blessings that I considered to be online is that now I am global. I am international. So many of the presentations that I do are with local companies here in the Twin Cities, but not all of them. But we have, I don't know how many we have now, but in the neighborhood of 17, 19 Fortune 500 companies in the Twin Cities that are, many of them that are global. So through them, I have presented globally to, Europe, Asia, and throughout Latin America. And then I've had other global, much larger companies that have approached me from Chicago, from New York, and so on as a result of doing more of this work online. And so now I have opportunities in other parts of the world to present. I did a fantastic show with a Latin American show out of London, and they do global presentations to highlight culture and tradition of Latin America. And they approached me, and that was a very nice experience. But overall, the pandemic has taught us all a good discipline. I think that that change is always rampant. Change is always there. And it's best to embrace rather than to fight change.
So that's great advice, by the way. Amalia, you might as well go with the flow and learn how to do that, right? And you obviously have. So talk about what happens when you do a corporate event. Talk about how that works and what you do.
Yes, so it might, it's different. The things that I do say that I am speaking, many food companies, local food companies bring me during Hispanic Heritage Month and other celebrations to provide education for their employees about cultural nuances using cuisine as a platform. So pre-pandemic, I was going to the corporations and I would be in front of, 300, 500 people or more and do cooking demonstrations. And at times these were interactive. And then I would have a wide array of cuisine for them to try afterwards, maybe during lunch or maybe business after hours. But during my presentations, I talk about the similarities, the characteristics of the cuisine of Guatemala versus Mexico versus Colombia versus Cuba. What are the differences? What are the similarities? What are the nuances? In addition to, this is a good opportunity to talk about diversity and inclusion as well. Mm-hmm. Food perhaps is one of the best connectors and one of the best common denominators to bring people together, because everyone likes food. Everyone likes to eat good food. And Latin America has very, very delicious food. It's varied and it's not the same. And I find that Latin American food is still very virgin here in the U.S. Not a lot of people have the knowledge of differences, and that is the reason why I use Latin cuisine as a platform to educate and to talk about different themes, including career transitioning. Because during these presentations, people bring me over because, yes, they want to eat, but they're also intrigued by how a Guatemalan who has been a banker, has started 2 businesses, and then is now educating about, food culture and all these topics. And these are all my experiences that I have lived through here in the States and as well as in Guatemala.
Now, Amalia, you have written and published one book. You've got another one on the way. Let's talk about the one that's been out for a while now, Amalia's Guatemalan Kitchen. Talk about that book and what you're letting folks know in that book.
Yes, so Amalia's Guatemalan Kitchen, Gourmet Cuisine with a Cultural Flair is a personal memoir and recipe collection that is designed to encourage and empower people to explore new foods and cook more fresh meals at home for health and wellness. This book, what I call my first baby, or perhaps my second baby, because my son is my first baby. I call it my baby because a book is a creation from within. It's something you give birth to. Continues to do really well, has won 9 international awards, and has been a bestseller from the start. I have reprinted it 4 times, and I am about to reprint it again. This book has been a door opener for me. They tell you oftentimes that when you publish a book, they are not money makers, and that is very true. But what they are is that they become your credit card, your business card. And also they become a door opener in so many different directions, to corporations, to consulting, to speaking, to doing TV, radio, and all kinds of opportunities that are available out there for book authors. When you become a book author, it's another feather on your cap, and it's a feather of what I consider very high quality, because it's not easy to publish a book, and it is even less easier when the book that you're writing is in another language that is not your primary language. So for me, it has been a challenge. But I love challenges, and just because it's difficult, it's not going to stop me.
Well, one thing you're too modest to say this, Amalia, but one of the things I have to point out here is that for this book, I mean, you have won a number of awards for this book. I mean, including Best Foreign Cuisine Book from Gourmand Awards. I mean, I could go on. But you didn't just release a book. It turned out to win a number of awards, and so you obviously put a lot of care into it when you did it.
Yes, thank you, John, for bringing that up. I think that one of the reasons why this book did so well is because it took me 4.5 years to write. And I took my time to do research. I took my time to do a lot of things that I consider diligent. I took a lot of time to do introspection, but I also realized one key thing. I realized that the demographic here in the United States on the Latino side is growing. And at the time when I wrote the book, the Guatemalan demographic was not very, very large yet. And it's still not very large, but it continues to grow. But I also discovered along the way that there are many children that have been adopted from Guatemala by American parents. So I discovered that I had a prime public that was ready to receive culture through the cuisine. I also discovered within myself that I had a lot to share about the way I grew up, the wholesome cooking that I was part of with my mother and my grandmother, and that beyond that, I had many anecdotes connected to the cuisine, many stories, and the history about Guatemalan cuisine that was not out there yet in a book in the way that I wanted to present.
Well, congratulations again on that success. That said, you're not you're welcome, and you're not resting on your laurels. You're about to release another book here in a few months as we tape this show in May 2021. Talk about your new book that's coming out.
Yes. So when I finished writing my first book, I realized that I still had a lot of information to share. And because my book was about Guatemalan cuisine, this information belonged elsewhere, though it is actually linked or connected to the cuisine. So I figured, well, I am going to finish this book and I'm going to let it go, which was very difficult to do. For those who are authors, letting go of a final manuscript is really, really hard to do because you always wanted to tweak something and so on. But I figured I am going to save all these ideas, all these notes, all this material that I have for a second book. So I've been doing that. And so it's taking me another 4.5 years to collect information about the second book. And in the process, I have also traveled all over the area that I am writing about so that the experiences are much richer and that I get closer to the food and culture of other countries because I am writing about other countries other than my own. And for me to do this, it was much easier to go to the countries and cook with the people that are very good cooks and to go to the markets and explore and so on. So my second book encompasses the area of Central America. And why this is important to me is because I want to show the world that this area is not well known outside of Central America as well, and that also it has a lot of culture, a lot of history, a lot of delicious cuisine to offer. But there is a very important part of Central America connected to South Central Mexico that is also, important to share. When people ask me, Amalia, is Guatemalan cuisine similar to Mexican cuisine? And it's probably true for other Central American countries. People may get asked that question. I said yes and no. And so I explained that the similarities lie in commonalities of ingredients. But Guatemalan cuisine is not spicy. like Mexican cuisine, but it does share some traits and techniques and so on. And that is true for the rest of Central America. But then you have to go into every single country and analyze that each one, although we have some of the same basic ingredients, some of the same techniques, some of the same cultural influences, we also have different customs and different traditions, and also different plants that grow locally in each place. And of course, people's preferences are different from place to place, and this affects the cuisines of each area. So that's what I am writing about, and much more. I go deeper into the culture, the history, the importance of this region on a global level. Why I am writing about this? Why do I care? Why should someone else care about this? It's because it's an area that has been explored for many years from an archaeological and anthropological side, but not on the cuisine side. So I want to tell the story, taking into consideration many of the studies that have been done, that continue to be done, because the history of the region, like the history of the world, continues to evolve as a result of new findings and so on. So it's going to be my story, my presentation, my choice of what I consider the traditional classic dishes of each country, with the Amalia spin, which is practical, healthy.
Wow. Great work here from Amalia Moreno-Damgaard. And Amalia is, her company is Amalia Latin Gourmet and Amalia LLC. Amalia, this has been great, but I can't let you go without, as we wind down here, if you could give a little advice to women who want to be entrepreneurs, because you mentioned your work with women entrepreneurs in Minnesota, and the pandemic has not been kind to women trying to start and maintain their own business. Give some encouragement and talk to women about their business aspirations, advice you would give.
Yes, so the pandemic has not been kind to women businesses. It hasn't been kind to all businesses, but society as a whole hasn't been kind to women-owned businesses, and that is, I think that is changing, but continues to change more. So for me, what has really worked from the very beginning, when I decided to switch careers, was to get a mentor. And I've had a series of mentors along the way, because every mentor is going to take you on a different path. It's going to help you propel yourself by years. It's going to help you in the specialty of the mentor. So it's important to have different mentors with different backgrounds, with different specialties, and to have mentors who are both men and women. Another piece of advice that I would give women and anyone is that community work is important. What you do out there comes back to you in so very many different ways. And I've been doing community work since my years in banking, serving on boards. Also, now I am doing advocacy on diversity, equity and inclusion. I have been doing philanthropy for many years, donating my time and talent. And I do a lot of media-driven food and culture education, doing segments on TV, always highlighting the beauty of Latin America. But also, I have mentored and empowered scores of other women who are aspiring to become entrepreneurs themselves, who may have the seed of an idea to start a business, or who may just need a little help to take their business to the next level. Why is community work important? Because this is another side of business that is often, ignored, and it's important work because it makes you grow on the personal side, but it also connects you to people that you may not come into normal contact with as a result of your business. When we are entrepreneurs, we're very busy, and just like being at the top of a major corporation, entrepreneurship is very lonely, and it's very frustrating at times. So it's important to have a support system around you. And this is where Women Entrepreneurs of Minnesota comes into play for me, as well as many other organizations that I support and that I am part of.
Great words from Amalia Moreno-Damgaard. And Amalia, this has been great, and it's just such a pleasure to have you on the show. I can't imagine that folks that have heard this won't want to be in touch in some way. So let's give them directions on how they can get in contact.
Yes, so they can reach me via email at amaliallc.com. They can go to my website, amaliallc.com. They can reach me via phone, 952-270-4543, or they can visit me on LinkedIn, Amalia Moreno-Damgaard. I am also on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. So any of those ways, people can reach out to me, and I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Amalia Moreno-Damgaard. Amalia, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Folks, just a quick reminder that you can find this show and all our shows, our show archive of Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio by going to probably the easiest URL is minnesotabusinessradio.com, but you can also find the show on all the major podcast apps. And here's my request, kind of a bold one, but if you don't mind, I'll make it. Go find the show on your favorite app and subscribe. And when you subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Now, that's not about me. It's not about Business RadioX. It's about our great guests, our entrepreneurs, business leaders like Amalia, who have been on the show. We want people to find the show so they can find them. And we're promoting the good work that they do. So if you could do that for us, we'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want to be in touch with us directly, we'd love to hear from you. My email address is jray@businessradiox.com. We'd love to hear from you and hear how you like the show. So for my guest, Amalia Moreno-Damgaard, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Radio.